So some introduction from Lama Zopa Rinpoche from his booklet, Bodhisattva Attitude. So we can listen to this as we also adjust our posture and prepare for the session. So Rinpoche says, if what you want is to liberate sentient beings from the oceans of samsaric suffering and enlighten them, then you need to achieve enlightenment. And if you want to achieve that, you need to practice Bodhichitta. The Bodhisattva's attitude is always, day and night, to totally dedicate their lives to be used by other sentient beings for their happiness. This is what they're seeking and wishing for all the time. You have to know that. So if you feel like that, there's the opportunity to gradually become closer and closer to Bodhichitta and have the realization. So if you're able to change your mind into an attitude wishing to be used by others for their happiness, then this is exactly what the Bodhisattva's attitude is. So Rinpoche goes on to say that he often hears people say, oh, these people are just using me. Even sometimes at meetings, in our dharma centers, I hear this. That's because they are not practicing bodhicitta. Once I wrote a letter to a center saying, bodhisattvas want to be used by sentient beings. That's what the bodhisattva attitude is. They actually accept it. The worldly mind thinks that being used by others is bad. That it's the worst thing. But bodhisattvas are most happy to accept this. So if you want to achieve awakening, you have to practice bodhicitta, and this is exactly what the bodhisattva attitude is. Their happiest practice is to be used by sentient beings. It's what they're always looking for. So we could spend a little while reflecting on this statement and contrasting it with our attitude, comparing it, seeing if it gels at all with the way we think. And we could remember some of the reasonings Shantideva gives for holding sentient beings in such high regard. There have been many such reasonings up to now, almost at the end of chapter 6. So recall some of those reasonings. Okay. So now we can proceed with the actual session. Hopefully with some understanding of what we still have to work with to engender genuine attitude of compassion, Bodhichitta. We can start with stabilizing practice so that our mind is somewhat attentive and focused. Of course, it also gives us another opportunity, this short practice, to see the nature of our wandering monkey mind. So please check the posture, and we'll begin the breath awareness practice. So in the verses we've been looking at recently, Shantideva has been emphasizing one point again and again, which is that to attain Buddhahood, we have to depend on both sentient beings as well as on Buddhas. And of course, in our enthusiasm or whatever, and this can affect everyone, not just new students, but all of us, we place a lot of emphasis on the Buddha, the Buddhas. We have lots of pictures of the Buddhas. We make offerings to the Buddhas. We're very proud of our shrines and altars or whatever can happen. And we may find that we don't have that much tolerance for people, you know. In fact, we might find people quite troublesome and annoying. I remember once I'd gone to Shravasti, Uttar Pradesh. This is where the Buddha is said to have descended back to earth from heaven after going there to teach his mother. She had passed away when he was very young. And I'd gone there to translate for Geshe Doje Damdola. So we were on the way back. And I was already a little bit annoyed with the organizers, thinking that they should have organized better transport for us. We came back ordinary sleeper in the train, which was perfectly comfortable enough, but you know, my mind was engaging in habitual non-virtue as usual. So I was thinking like that. And then when we got to, I think it was, would have been Old Delhi station, whichever, Old Delhi or New Delhi. It was very crowded, very, very crowded in the morning. And I was kind of feeling that this is a bit much, you know, too many people and not very nice for Geshe-la and so forth. So I mentioned something to Geshe-la. I said, you know, so many people, it's really too much or something like that. And then he replied saying that words to the effect that, you know, don't you feel very happy? There's so many people, so many sentient beings, kind sentient beings all around, you know. All these mother sentient beings, so many of them, how kind they are, and so forth. So then, of course, one remembered the basic teaching in Mahayana, anyway, on the kindness of sentient beings. So who cares if there's many of them, you know? The more there are, the more one should remember, right? So anyway, so just showing one's attitude, one is very often not very tolerant or kind or appreciative of others. You know, especially when they are creating, when we think they are creating some kind of obstacle for us or making things uncomfortable for us. Of course, my mind was primed already by the journey. Yeah. Then the other thing is the organizers hadn't given Geshe-la or myself what I felt to be a decent gift or, you know, kind of offering for having gone all the way there and taken so much trouble, you know, to help them, teach them, blah, blah, blah. So already the mind was in a slightly uncomfortable state, you know? less than virtuous state. So it's very easy to become very critical, my point, become critical and not to appreciate kind mother sentient beings, you know, without whom there is no practice, certainly no practice of, the six perfections, the six far-reaching attitudes, no morality. Morality doesn't make sense without others. Can't practice generosity without others. Can't practice patience without others. The whole point of enthusiastic effort is to benefit others. Yeah, the whole point of one-pointed concentration and so forth is to be of service to others. And of course, wisdom, granting us that state of mind where we can benefit others effortlessly, based on our own freedom. So all of these practices depend on others, but it's so easy to forget that. And so we may slavishly, in a sense, worship the Buddhas and get very upset when people aren't appreciative or respectful towards statues or destroy them. But as for caring for others, that's often not good enough. So Shantideva here is saying, since they are both the means of winning Buddhahood, we say that beings are the same as Buddhas in that respect. Yeah, no one's saying they're the same in terms of qualities, like spiritual qualities. Of course, ordinary beings are not anywhere near the level of Buddhas, but in terms of there being a field of merit, in terms of them being there as a method, essential method, means for us to attain awakening, they're the same. Even though they're not equal in the boundless ocean of a Buddha's merits. Yet he's saying, even if a very small portion of the merit that is there in the Buddhas, if that were to be found in ordinary beings' hearts, then even if we made an offering of the three worlds to them, it would be a very slight thing, a very small thing. Even the smallest bit of merit or wakefulness makes us worthy of unlimited offerings. The slightest recognition of bodhicitta, the slightest willingness to enter the bodhisattva path makes us as worthy of offerings as the Buddhas. I find these to be very encouraging words, says Pema Chodron. A share in bringing forth the supreme state of Buddhahood is thus possessed by everyone. This demonstrates the reason why they are the proper object of my reverence. Yeah, I'm going to find the Padmakara translation of that. Although not one of them is equal to the Buddhas, who are oceans of perfection. Since there lies in beings a share in bringing forth the supreme and enlightened state, by virtue of this parity alone, it's right that I should reverence them. Yeah, are we getting this? By helping beings, we repay the ones who sacrifice their lives for us and plunge into the hell of unrelenting pain. Should beings therefore do great harm to me, I'll strive to bring them only benefit. I wonder if this is referring to the fact that the Buddhas are willing to plunge into the hell of unrelenting pain, or whether it's through our actions we make other people angry and therefore they then go to hell. In any case, he's saying we have to repay repay the kindness. Is this repaying the kindness of the Buddhas or repaying the kindness of sentient beings? Kindness of our teachers. We can discuss that. In any case, it's saying we have to repay the kindness. 120. For those who have become my lords, at times took care not even of their bodies. That refers to the Buddhas. Why should I, a fool, behave with such conceit? So why should I not become the slave of others? So he's saying people who have become much higher than me, the Buddhas, at many times they didn't even take care of their own bodies, such was their dedication to the welfare of others. So why am I right now such a fool, conceited fool, behaving in this way? Why is it that I should not become a slave of others? The Buddhas have done it, yeah? So do I think I can get away with not doing that? For if the ones who are my lords and teachers, for being's sake, are careless even of their bodies, why should I, a fool, behave with such conceit? Why shouldn't I become the slave of others? What does Bachelor say? When for their sake, those who are my lords have no regard even for their own bodies, then why am I, the fool, so full of self-importance? Why don't I act like a servant towards them? Buddhas are made happy by the joy of beings. They sorrow, they lament when beings suffer. By bringing joy to beings, then, I please the Buddhas as well. By wounding them, I wound the Buddhas too. Yep. So the way to really make one's spiritual teachers happy is not just by making them food, meals, or bringing them presents. It's by putting their teachings into practice. And certainly, Dharma teachers enjoy kindness and generosity as much as anyone, but it's definitely not going to compute if we're smiling and kind to them while being mean and scornful to others. Verse 123, just as when a man who's tortured in a fire remains unmoved by little favors done to him, there's no way to delight the great compassionate Buddhas while we ourselves are causes of another's pain. Yeah? So just as if we were being tortured in fire, we wouldn't be, I wouldn't be interested at that point in my favorite foods while my body was being tortured by pain. The Buddhas, there's no way to delight them if sentient beings are suffering. If sentient beings are suffering, then the Buddhas, that makes them very sad. Yeah. The damage I've done to beings saddens all the Buddhas in their great compassion. Therefore, all these evils I confess today and pray that they will bear with my offenses. So again, Shantideva is injecting a confession verse there, 123, 124. Therefore, as I've caused harm to living beings, today I openly declare all my unwholesome acts that have brought displeasure to the compassionate ones. Please bear with me, O Lords, for this displeasure I have caused. From now on, in order to delight the Tathagats, I shall serve the universe and definitely cease to cause harm. Although many beings may kick and stamp upon my head, even at the risk of dying, may I delight the protectors of the world by not retaliating. I wonder how many of us are willing to do that. maybe we can create this aspiration. I think the Gandhian method of satyagraha is very much connected to this. You may read accounts of the satyagrahis putting up with lathi charges by the British soldiers or whoever, by the soldiers, police, and not retaliating with anger, having been trained to patiently accept the harm and not do it in any kind of spiteful or negative way, but to take on the harm and not to retaliate, not only so that others, the other party, were not injured, but in order to somehow act on the conscience of the perpetrators of violence, hoping that such a measure of non-violence, non-retaliation would bring about at least a change of heart or mind in some of the perpetrators of the violence. They would recognize that what they were doing was wrong, inappropriate. It's one thing if you are the victim of violence and you react back violently, right? It just escalates. And then it's like free for all. But if another person is violent and we don't react with violence, but patiently accept it, gives some space for the other person to potentially to consider what they're doing and to see that it is not right, it's unwholesome. So in that sense, civil disobedience, the Gandhian fashion, is very much connected with this. Yeah. And that I might rejoice, make happy the Buddha's hearts, I'll be master of myself and be the servant of the world, and not respond though others trample, wound, or kill me. Now let the guardians of the world rejoice. I will be master of myself. Henceforth, I'll be master of myself, the servant of the world. This is very much something that I found in my study of Gandhi, which I elected to do at university. And so read a little bit about, what he did, what he said. So in his major works, this is a constant theme, to be a master of oneself. In his famous book, Indian booklet, Indian Home Rule, in Swaraj of 1909, in that also Gandhiji, very much speaks about ruling oneself, Swaraj, ruling one's own body and mind. And without that, we are in danger of not being able to, we won't have a happy result, whatever we do. Even if we get rid of the old bosses, we as the new bosses will behave in the same way if we have not mastered ourselves. Yeah. So this is something, it's part of the, it's part of the Indian tradition, perhaps we could say. Certainly it's there in Mahayana, and it's been practiced by others, including Gandhiji, probably one of the most, that's his example stands out. There may have been others as well. The great compassionate lords consider as themselves all beings. There's no doubt of this. Those whom I perceive as beings are Buddhas in themselves. How can I not treat them with respect? So this is referring to also the Buddha nature, right? And it's also bringing up the what we might call a non-dualistic perspective. We are mired in duality, very much the strong sense of I, me, mine, and the other out there. And here, Shantideva is saying the great compassionate lords consider others as their own. All wanderers, all sentient beings, all transmigrators are seen as themselves. Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? Somehow, it's kind of non-dualistic attitude. We're not making that strong division between ourselves and others, as we usually do. Ordinary beings usually do. And those whom I perceive as beings, ordinary beings, are actually Buddhas in themselves. Beings then are Buddha's very self. How can I not treat them with respect? What's Bachelor say? Furthermore, those who see this Buddha nature as the nature of sentient beings also see the Buddhas themselves. Why then do I not respect sentient beings? The commentary here of Pema Chodron says that all sentient beings are Buddha's very self. All Buddhas have Buddha nature. For example, Trungpa Rinpoche explained Buddha nature in various ways. He taught that all beings have enlightened genes, G-E-N-E-S, murderers and Buddhas alike. Beings suffering the agony of hell have exactly the same innate ability to wake up as those enjoying the bliss of enlightenment. All have equal potential. He also presented this teaching as basic goodness. Basic goodness. Saying that we could interact with one another in ways that connect us with this basic wisdom rather than obscuring it. Rather than triggering other people's aggression and discouragement, we could pause and allow some space for everybody to experience what he called their soft spot. And Pema Chodron says that she has a strong memory of an angry person, an angry man attacking Trungpa Rinpoche about his teachings on basic goodness, saying that people were fundamentally flawed. And Rinpoche calmly replied that the ultimate nature of everything tends towards goodness, and there's no way to stop it, no matter what we believe. The ultimate nature of everything tends towards goodness. Towards harmony. That's something to ponder. Because we might believe the opposite right now. We might believe the opposite. That everything tends towards chaos or aggression. That's what we might think. Seeing our own minds and what's happening in the world, or at least what the news is projecting. So venerating these beings will please the Buddha's hearts and perfectly secure the welfare of myself. This will drive away the sorrows of the world. Therefore, it will be my constant practice. Imagine, then, he says, that the steward of a king does injury to multitudes of people. The steward of a king does injury to multitudes of people. Those among the injured who are wise will not respond with violence, even if they can. For stewards, after all, are not alone. They are supported by the kingly power. Likewise, I should not make light of lesser men who do me little injuries, for they have guardians of hell for allies, and also the compassionate Buddhas. Therefore, I'll respect all living beings as though they were the subjects of that wrathful king. In other words, getting annoyed at even little grievances strengthens the power of aggression. Consequences will always be unpleasant. Most of us feel it's okay to indulge in little irritations, lightweight gossiping, a teeny-weeny bit of slander. But by doing so, Shantideva says, we're reinforcing negative mind. On the other hand, if we can catch the seduction of hostility and petty-mindedness at a subtle stage, it's much easier to nip it in the bud. The guardians of hell and the compassionate Buddhas are both our allies. If we're intelligent about the potential consequences of our actions, both pain and pleasure will motivate us to act wisely. Then the next verses are asking us, really, who can cause us as much pain as we can ourselves by our indulging in the negative mind? Even an angry king, ruler, couldn't unleash on us the kind of suffering that we unleash on ourselves. We will definitely experience hellish suffering, Shantideva was saying, if we make people suffer. If, a king can't make us suffer more than, lose our life or torture us in this life, but future lives suffering, that is something very extensive and very painful, which we create for ourselves, he's saying. And even if a king were very pleased with us, they can't give us enlightenment. They can't make us enlightened. Only we can do that for ourselves through positive actions, through bringing happiness to living beings. So, bottom line, nothing brings us as much suffering or happiness as our own mind. So, granted then, he says, verse 133, granted then that future Buddhahood is forged through bringing happiness to beings. How can I not see that glory, fame, and pleasure, even in this life, will likewise come? No need to mention future Buddhahood, achieved through bringing happiness to beings. How can I not see that glory, fame, and pleasure will likewise come in this life? So, why don't I see that my future attainment of Buddhahood, as well as glory, renown, and happiness in this very life, all come from pleasing sentient beings? While in cyclic existence, patience causes beauty, health, and renown. Because of these, I shall live for a very long time and win the extensive pleasure of the universal Chakravartin king. If Buddhahood isn't good enough for us, then how about, if recognizing that if we were to practice patience well, then we will look good, feel good, and be famous. Beauty, health, good renown. So when we're scowling and uptight, even conventionally beautiful people are disfigured. What's more, anger isn't good for health or longevity, and people don't like us if we're angry. So if nothing else penetrates our mind, then at least pondering these worldly benefits may help us turn our mind towards this practice. Yeah. So we'll stop there for now and not get on to enthusiasm today, although the teaching on enthusiasm does say don't procrastinate, don't wait. So maybe we can see a few verses of that and then have some discussion. So the point about enthusiasm, of course, is that we may be a very, very good person, very good-hearted, and genuinely interested in the teachings, understand the teachings. We may have sharp intelligence, all these things. But if we're lazy, if we don't practice, then nothing really comes to fruition. We don't have much, we can't really do much for others. So Shantideva, let's just look at the first two verses. Having patience, so having developed patience, chapter 7, verse 1. Having patience, I should develop enthusiasm. Is there another word given for enthusiasm? Diligence? Is that it? Yeah. In the Padmakara, it says, I will strive with diligence. Yeah, diligence, I guess, is good. I like the word enthusiasm. Anyway, for awakening will dwell only in those who exert themselves. Just as there's no movement without wind, so merit doesn't occur without enthusiasm. What is enthusiasm? It is finding joy in what is wholesome. Its opposing factors are explained as laziness, attraction to what is harmful, and despising oneself out of despondency. Anyway, that's something to look forward to in future sessions, if we decide to go on with this text, which I think probably is a good idea. And when we get to chapter 9, we can bring in some more heavyweight Madhyamaka scholars to discuss that. We'll ask Ajirji to revise his notes and give some insight on that chapter. I might even revise some of my long unread notes from many years back, since I did take those teachings at one time.
Elaine is there.
Who?
Elaine is there.
Elaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, except
always.
Yeah, he's. Does
she?
she? Okay, Elaine's not here today, but I'll remind her of what you said. Yeah. So let's have some.
And she said, and he also said the name should be good, like Elaine.
Elaine. Chalo, mute. Allow to unmute. Yeah, you're all allowed to unmute yourself. We can have some discussion. There's nothing in the chat. Got a few people, 3 people here at Tushita, and 8 people online. Apart from myself. So, anybody want to bring up anything? I am not feeling particularly inspired this morning, so I won't rattle on, but I'm happy to discuss things with people. Haji.
So, Jana, you were expecting that better reservation class entry.
Huh?
You were expecting when you were coming from Shavasti, you were expecting that they put you in sleeper.
I was thinking they could have given us some better accommodation, yeah, and a better gift also.
Well, maybe they have their own limitations in resources, and here when I'm coming to the point that this expectation can become the cause of suffering, and
Yeah.
because at times I was reading yesterday something that accept will give you positive thing and expectation will give you suffering.
Hmm. Yeah.
On personal level, when I see that I do expect things from my family or from my friends, then that leads to suffering in a way or the other.
Yeah.
So what is the antidote for it? How should I
what's the antidote to having expectations?
or not to
Not having expectations. Well, here the main point Shantideva is saying, the antidote to that would be seeing the kindness of others. Everything they do is kindness for us, whether they harm us or help us. Everything is kind. When they help us, it's helping. When they're apparently harming us, we can generate patience. So whatever sentient beings are doing, they are a cause of our, potentially a cause of our awakening, of our developing spiritually. So, of course, in general, expecting things, I think, comes from a kind of poverty mentality within ourselves. We always want something else, want something better. We're not satisfied with what's here right now. So we expect something from somebody or something good to happen, or expect to get this or get that, or expect to have a, tasty lunch, or, whatever it is, short-term, long-term, we're always expecting. So I was expecting, I suppose, in Shravasti that they would give us more than what they gave us, or at least, as a little gift, and expecting, that we would have more comfortable journey, although quite frankly, it was perfectly comfortable enough, It was just lack of contentment in the mind. And then, since the mind was already annoyed somewhat, or not in a, let's say not in a very positive state, finding the crowds at the Delhi station was, we could say, irksome, was slightly problematic. So, the more we have self-concern, the more we will suffer with everything. I, me, mine, and my comfort, my etc., etc. What do you think? What's the way to get rid of expectation? What does anyone else think? It's hard not to have some expectations. But as you say, the more we have them, the more liable to suffer.
There is the other story. This is Kempa Wangcho, who set up the Buddhahood. His assistant was telling that all these monks were going to go there. And in Delhi, when the train came, all these monks are a bit heavy. They could push around. So there are a lot of people who are going from Delhi to Bihar. They said that when the train stopped, all these monks went inside. And Kempa Wangcho said, all of you come down. Then this row of people who are going to Bihar. They said, do they want to go to Bihar? They said that yes. All entered, and only after that, he said that now you can go. Yeah, this is at the platform in Delhi.
The monks had to go later, he said.
Yeah. They went inside, everyone, because this is all the passenger train, no reservation.
Oh.
Yeah. So he brought all these monks down to the platform, and all their inside, he said that now you can go.
पहले आप वाली बात है.
पहले आप वाली बात है. तो बोधिसत्व का यही है साहब.
Yeah.
पहले आप.
So did you hear that?
ये भी है कि पहले आप करते, अपना ट्रेन भी ना छूट जाए, देखना पड़ेगा. वो थोड़ा एक्सपेक्टेशन होना जरूरी है.
And sometimes, Kabirji, it comes to petitions from the people, right? There might be some friends or family members having some petitions from you, and you're not able to understand exactly So it's very difficult to understand. So they feel suffer, they get suffer because of that expectations. So how we can understand this thing in better?
How we can?
Understand this thing in a better way. That because might be I can control myself, but I don't have any expectation from a particular thing or a particular person. But there's a possibility कि उनके mind में मेरे लिए कुछ expectations हैं. तो उस like how we can say that what is the cause of that expectations or what is the causes of it? Like how we can
You can't cure another person's expectation very easily. I mean, if we have clear communication with other people, maybe we can get somewhere, but I find it's quite hard sometimes to discuss very clearly or openly with relations, especially if they have very strong expectations. I was lucky. My family didn't have strong expectations for me, as far as I could gather. They had some, but I patiently kind of ignored it, their expectations, without getting annoyed or angry. And after a while, those expectations died away. For example, you should get married, blah, 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 again and again every year. Then around the age of 30, it stopped, so that expectation stopped. But of course, more traditional family, or if a mother is there, my mother wasn't there. It was just father. But if mother and father are there and others, then there can be strong pressure built on their expectations, which in turn are built on society's norms, and these can be very damaging, very damaging. I remember in Bihar, several of the people I know are quite poor, but they have to get their daughters married, you see. And that costs more money than they have, much more money than they have. And so once I was talking to one of them and saying, look, your daughter's only, 17 or 18 or whatever. Why are you getting her married now? Why? And the father said, if I don't, then I'll be the object of people make fun of me and look down on me in the village, So there's all kinds of pressures on parents and others, to have expectations. And so you could say part of it is kind of a systemic problem. It's a very brave person who can step out of that and say, I don't care, I just want my child to be happy. Of course, it's all bound up with security as well. Making sure if you are not a very well-off person, you want your daughter to be looked after, or your son to get married and get a dowry. And it's all tends to be connected with security, status, and so forth. So it is very difficult. We can only really work on our own mind. But I guess if you have a good communication with relations, then you can explain to them what you're doing you feel is best for you, and that the parent need not worry. Sometimes I suppose you have to be quite firm and say, look, don't try to organize my life for me. I'm a grown-up now, That's, I think, very difficult for many parents in India to accept, I found. Probably the whole world, but especially here. I found that, even with my own family, although they were more open, a little bit more flexible than some other families, but it's still there. I mean, even at my age now, my aunt, I think, often seems to think she knows better what's good for me. So then that becomes annoying, when you're asked by your aunt, What time did you get home last night? I mean, I feel like saying none of your business. But I guess one has to be skillful about these things and kind. Yeah, there's no easy answer to your question. And Shantideva himself says there's no way to cover the whole earth with leather. You just have to cover your own feet. Protect your own mind. And it's very hard to protect everyone else's mind in the sense of really help them to get over their problems. We can try, but main thing is not to react in a way that increases their pain or harms them. Very difficult, very difficult.
Better to have just patience, sweet to get better things of moment. Because when it comes to new suffering, like so far what time I learned that we have to be kind to everyone. You don't have to become the person or might be the source of somebody else's suffering. Because as the Buddha, when he left his town for like 6 or 7 years far away from the family, to just remove the suffering from the entire world. But what about their family members? They suffer in 6 to 7 years. Their wife, parents.
Well, yeah, okay. They keep on suffering. If you don't do what they want, you're saying they suffer, and you're saying our aim should be to make people happy. And this is what Shantideva is saying, yes. But then consider this: if you are forced to behave or take a course of action that is going to make you unhappy, your whole life, which is not what you want to do or what you feel is best for you, then how is that going to help? That's not going to help you, and it's not going to help them, because you're going to have a perpetual kind of resentment towards them, and you will not be able to perhaps fulfill your potential in the world. You see, otherwise we just keep on bowing down to other people's expectations of us. They're limited, often very limited expectations based on their prejudices and society's, prejudices. A society which, I mean, how about say you come from a family which has a tradition of sending people to the army, and what if you don't want to go in the army, and it makes your father really unhappy? Well, you say, I don't want to join a profession which is, ultimately aimed at, okay, defending the country, but defending the country, if necessary, killing other people. I don't want to do that. I'd rather be blah, 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 something else. So what to do? You would just join the army, do what your parents wanted, and possibly be involved in actions that cause the death of others, There's some difficult choices to be made. But in the end, your own conscience.
Yeah, to say that the family suffers, yes, I think for short term it could be. But if you really see in the long term, what has really happened? His son Rahul joined him and he became Arnab, which means he is free from his worldly. What about, like say, his mother? Okay, mother must have suffered briefly, but Buddha, after enlightenment, he went to the heaven, gave a teaching, and she becomes Arnab. Okay, which means she is out of the samsara. Mother, the aunt who really nourished, again she becomes Arnab. So it's almost like saying that if somebody is suffering physically, he or she goes, there is a surgery done, they may be painful maybe for a few days, but then the whole health is again after some time. So I really would like to see that, yes, I think a lot of people, they ask questions, the family stuff. But to me, it appears that they suffer briefly. But ultimately, what happened? I mean, they're all living from the samsara one by one. It's almost like saying that, well, you want to send someone close to USA because the life is better there. You are away from them. You don't suffer. You feel happy.
So is that what you're trying to say, that suffering can take you to enlightenment? Because suffering is still there, but even though if it is temporary, suffering is still there.
No, yeah. I'm only asking the question, which was raised by him, that what happens with the family suffering. I'm saying that their suffering is temporary. But once he got enlightened, he comes back. And what kind of contribution which Buddha has done for the family?
I don't know if you can hear online, but yeah, Ajirji is speaking of Buddha coming back and benefiting his family members, of course. But of course, we can't do what Buddha did necessarily right now. That's
right.
Extreme.
I'm only giving the answer to the question raised. So I think that is one. And the second is really the expectation. It really appears sooner or later what has to steer one's own life.
Yeah.
If one is really getting more into the expectation, again, we are getting in the wheel of the samsara. I think we are never out of that.
Yeah.
Buddha himself, I mean, he revolted against the expectation. His father wanted that he should become a king. He should conquer, force him to get married. But then he found that, well, it is not really good.
Yeah. Could you speak up maybe so people online might catch it?
So that's true, basically this is the short-term suffering. But we are living in a society where, from the childhood to the old age, we always connected with the people, the family members. Even though we always try to do best for them, right? But somehow, like if I'm in school, right? So my parents want to go to medical. Okay, if I take action, no, I want to go for non-medical, right? So that time, that movement, I understand, okay, it's okay, this might be best for my family. I agree with that. When it comes to the job, okay, I want to stay in India, but they want me to send outside of India. I said, okay, it's fine, because I don't want to suffer them. Let me go to back, go to Dubai or might be, other country. So then when it comes to again the marriage, okay, so then again we have compromise, because might be we in the society, we don't want to hurt our parents, we don't want to hurt our family members or loving ones. So is it right to just suffer because I don't want to see somebody else suffering?
Well, the point is how much benefit are people getting?
Exactly.
And
with
sometimes
larger interest, I would say that yes, I think always. I was reading a story of this person who has started a lot of music school. What is that called? Shamak Dawar.
Dance school.
Dance school. Yeah. So his parents both were the professor in the Carnegie Mellon University. He decided no, I think he would like to go for the music, and today he becomes the UNICEF ambassador. And look at the. So I think somewhere, Kabir is the classic example for Matthew Ricard, who is considered as one of the happiest person today. That is how he really put it. At the age of 29, he did his PhD that time, biotechnology, under the Nobel laureate. But he decided to leave that because he came to somewhere Darjeeling this side, he got in touch with the Digo-Kinsey's institution. He became a monk. Okay. And today, all the scientists are really talking to him. So I think as Kabirji was saying, I also feel that what is the larger interest? Is for the larger benefit? Yes, I think somewhere.
I think, yeah, that's good. Those are special cases, Lord Buddha and Matthew Ricard. For us who are not so exalted, The sad truth is we cannot make people happy all the time.
Yeah.
This is just something we have to accept. This is one of the shortcomings of samsara. So therefore, it can at least help us generate more compassion, be as kind and skillful as we can be towards those people, our family and others, and aspire to be able to help them in the future, which means long-term future also. It can really provide fuel for a lot of kind of sadness, renunciation, weariness with samsara, which are supposed to be very wonderful qualities for a spiritual practitioner. So long-term, it will be beneficial for those relations. Short-term, if they suffer because of their mental, afflictions, what to do? That's the nature of the ordinary mind, to suffer. Even if we do what they want in some way, there will always be reason for the ordinary samsaric mind to create a problem somewhere, I think. So we cannot sacrifice all the time just because other people have expectations, because then there's no limit to others' expectations. You say, yeah, okay, I'll get married. Oh, but we don't want to get you to get married to that person, all that. What do? Are you gonna, obey them down to the last, everything? Is everything they say going to be accepted by you, by us? Down to the last detail? No, we have to accept that often we just have to do our best mentally. And what we cannot do physically, we pray, we aspire to be able to help long term. So a lot of what the Bodhisattvas do are that, because right now they can't help. You think these great Bodhisattvas don't care for Trump and this and that and other people? Of course they do, but they realize that what they can do for them now is limited. But you can be sure they are praying to be able to benefit such people in the future. For sure, the Bodhisattvas are praying for such people. And think they haven't been able to change his mind so far. There are many Bodhisattvas in this world, many kind, compassionate, Bodhisattvas, not just kind people. They know how much damage leaders can cause, with so much power. But so why haven't they done something about it? Because we can't always do something about it. So what we can do, we do. What we can't, we accept and pray to be able to help beings in the future. I think there's not much else we can do. And of course, we have a special connection with our parents and others of this life. So strong prayers that we make on their behalf will be powerful and may, bring connection in the future where we can help them more. And right now we just have to be patient and not get angry with them, because maybe that doesn't help. We can show annoyance or wrath sometimes, maybe, but to really get angry with them and try to harm them and retaliate with harsh speech, that will be detrimental, no? That just creates a negative karmic pattern, which then again we have to face in the future. So yeah, it's a very good point you've raised, because Shantideva is saying, isn't he, that the Buddhas are happy when we make beings happy. So are the Buddhas unhappy when we don't obey our parents who have a certain expectation of us? We have to be skillful. If our motivation is good, then often disobeying is the best thing. But maybe we explain to them, if we can, why, very carefully. Maybe not verbally, but in a letter or email, something which shows very clearly that one has thought about it and cares for them. And this is the reason why one cannot accept what they are saying. Because often I find the communication isn't clear between people. Like in our family, many things were just not spoken about, you know. There were many brothers, many uncles I had. They hardly spoke to each other about the important matters which needed to be spoken about, you know. They didn't speak clearly, openly about these things. Some families are like that. And that's very detrimental. You have this sense that there's always something being hidden or you know, some kind of almost like a secret. So a toxicity builds up in the family. Yeah. So open-hearted communication helps. If the other person doesn't respond, then your conscience is clear. You tried. Anna, what more can you do?
What about 9 non-virtue actions?
Sorry?
What about 9 non-virtue actions when it comes to
The 10 non-virtuous actions.
yes, 10. So which is lying.
Lying.
Right? So sometime again, as you mentioned, you have to try to discuss with your parents or family members or somebody else. And in our daily life, might be we always try to control that. We don't have to lie to just control the situation, or might just make them happy. So how we can, how we can overcome this thing that we don't have to lie, even though consciously in the morning we always think today is the best day, and today I decided not to lie in my business, not to lie with my family, not to lie with family, friends, or XYZ. But somehow, when you consciously talk with people, somehow you start lying. Might
Really?
be some, right? So how we can
What kind of lies? You start.
might be if I'm having a meeting with my client,
Ah,
right? So if I'm doing a business meeting with my client, and
what work do you do?
so we are I'm into online education, IT.
Online education.
Yeah, for IT courses.
Hmm.
So because sometimes you have to present in that manner to your clients that they will sign your deal or agree on your deal. So I really don't want to lie.
Why do you have to lie there?
Because sometimes in the presentation, let's example about the expenses of the revenue, the projection of the revenue, right? So where we have to just tell them we can go ahead with this number of the revenue, but we know that it's not possible. But just we are doing because we have to
You have to?
run the company. So this is one example, but consciously then I said, no, Ishan, this is not the right. So how we can, because if we not use this kind of techniques or kind of the stuff in our business, then we will also get a lot of costs, again, suffering.
So you're promising something you're saying that you cannot deliver? That kind of lie? You're promising them certain
It's one of
benefits?
Example.
Yeah, well, what do people think about that? People online, what do you think about that? Having to lie to promote your business. Is this a...
Yeah, it's unfortunately a very common practice in corporates in India.
Who's talking? Apurva. Ah,
Yes,
okay.
yes, Kabirji.
It's a very common practice among corporates. I see.
Yeah, it is very common, and yeah, even I've kind of really struggled with it. But I mean, the one thing that I guess one can do is just minimize the amount of, the amount of negativity that goes into that lying or the frequency of such lies, and it's quite difficult to manage. Can completely relate to that.
Or else you resign and become an organic farmer or something. Like
Yeah,
people
that's
in
the dream.
You can't lie with, well, yeah, you can't lie to the land, to the soil. Yeah, what to say? This would be something which we would consider wrong livelihood, or against the right livelihood, which is one of the factors of the Eightfold Path, as presented more in the Theravada tradition. So if you have to kill or you have to lie regularly, this is a wrong livelihood. Try to change it. If you can't change it, then you have to purify a lot, because constant lying is not good. Not good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely a lot of people in the corporates leave their jobs for this reason, because it gets
Really?
to them after a point. And
Mm.
I mean, at least just in my case, because I'm more towards the creative side, I don't have to get into the numbers and the business side of things as much. But in that side, it's even more, and it's so entrenched that it's almost like an unwritten rule that everyone does it, so it's kind of okay to do it, which is just bizarre, I think, too.
Yep, entrenched. Yeah, embedded non-virtuous actions. I mean, shopkeepers keep on doing this, don't they? I think, or some shopkeepers might, when they inflate the prices more than they need to. मैंने तो इतना दिया तो आपसे इतना ले रहे हैं, बहुत कम बना रहा हूँ इस पे, perhaps more than they let on. I'm sure कि हमारा शक्ल देख करके लोग दाम बढ़ाते हैं चीजों का, चाहे सब्जी हो चाहे फल हो, तो हमको बार बार बोलना पड़ता है हिंदी में कि देखिए मैं वो चीज नहीं हूँ जो आप सोच रहे हैं. कभी कभी मन लगता है कि बहुत ही तेज गाली भी दें, लेकिन फिर अच्छा नहीं लगता गाली देना, तो मैं नहीं देता हूँ. Anyway, yeah, people have a tendency to take advantage, right? And of course people lie about all sorts of things. Their age, their qualifications, everything. So this is, yeah, you could subtly, or on the side, you should investigate other jobs, if possible, long term.
It's been 2 months, I guess. Many times, so successfully, done 4 or 5 presentations, investors. I believe I can apply to them, but that leads to the negative flow of the business. But it is okay, might be, it will take some time, because 30 years, when lying to somebody, it's been common to us, right? But now suddenly you decide, we don't have to lie. So obviously, it's going to impact in your in daily life.
One question: do you find that this constant lying in your job, it also translates into your other aspects of your life? Do you find yourself lying in when you come home?
Believe me, we don't know exactly. When we are in work, right, we never able to understand that we are lying or not, because this is the part of the job. You are sitting in that aura that where you have to talk about numbers, and it's become a habit of the person that they have to present in that manner. But after it's been now, I guess, a couple of months doing while doing this practice, right? Whatever I'm speaking, consciously understand. Okay, no, Shan, this is something. You don't have to lie. Now I felt that okay. Now I'm realizing that Shan, I done so many stuff that which can't be done. But now this is the time to get better things, basically, do better things, basically, without lying to the people.
नहीं, मैं ये पूछ रहा था, घर पहुंच के या दफ्तर छोड़ के फिर भी आदत मतलब होता है झूठ बोलने का, या
कॉन्शियसली पता नहीं चलता है ना, क्योंकि आप उस कॉर्पोरेट में आप 10 घंटे बैठते हैं अपने बॉस के साथ, and then where you have to just talk about numbers, right? आप जब घर आते हैं, आपसे किसी ने कुछ पूछा किसी भी चीज के बारे में, आपको पता नहीं होता कभी कभी कि आपने एग्जैक्टली वो अपने सही आंसर दिया है या झूठ बोला है.
It becomes uncertain, he's saying. What's your name? Sorry.
ईशान.
Ishan. Ishanji is saying that, yeah, it's a gray area. One doesn't realize sometimes that one may be not telling the truth. Even when one is at home, things become, that's quite disturbing actually, right? And maybe it is more common than we know, not telling people.
Kabir ji.
Ji, Sudhiti.
Yeah, so I was actually wondering about the analogies that one can bring to that to a few other things. Also, I have left a few jobs because of the necessity of flying. So, yeah, it's very, very difficult. It's quite difficult. At the same time, there's this term called puffery, which is legal in advertising, which is
What's
where
it called?
you puffery, basically puffing, basically exaggerating one's claims.
Ah.
So say the best meditation center in Delhi. So that is puffery because it's actually very generic, quite vague, and legally there's no bar to it. So the analogy that I was thinking of was, don't we keep on lying to feed our ego selves? We are always thinking of ourselves as much more than we might be or we are. This particular idea of ourselves, this particular idea of our capacities, our abilities, isn't that also a kind of, if not all out lying, quite an exaggeration?
Good point. I mean, I find that I'm often a hypocrite, or have been.
Yeah, same here.
That's kind
Same
of
here.
lie, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the
No,
kind
also the exaggerating that we indulge in. Say at times I would think that, okay, I know about this thing. And this idea of knowing is so vague. It's just something that I like to think.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Interesting. What do people think about that? Ego is one big lie anyway. One big deception. Yeah, food for thought. Gonna have to end soon. I have some things to do this afternoon, including vote. It's the municipal elections here in Delhi. I think in most wards of Delhi, probably all of Delhi. Yeah. BKI, good. Ajirji has already voted.
Constitutional responsibility.
Yeah. So let's do that. Rustle up some lunch. Looking forward to that. The cook is not at home, so I can experiment on the monk who's staying with me. He's very patient, he won't mind. Packet soup. No, maza aega. But yeah, I need to stop soon. But any other point? Anybody have anything they are aching to communicate?
I just wanted to put this. I think I really like that the rule is really the self-rule. I think it really gives a lot of perspective to life. Just for governing the external world, just look at how many laws are there and you need to really obey that. But there's an internal world, which we are really talking of the mind, the self. How much of rule we know and how much of the rule we really follow, so that the self gets governed in the sense that it is peaceful, harmonious, and wholesome. I think I really find that it's a very good idea to really reflect
Sure.
what is that framework of the self-rule?
So how to, yeah, what's the framework so we can develop self-rule?
Yeah.
That's what Ajirji is mentioning. Absolutely. Yeah. This is what the teachings are about, I
Exactly.
suppose. The discipline, or as Krishnamurti would say, discipline means becoming a disciple, a proper disciple. So meaning, yeah, being willing to learn and also learn from our, betters, I suppose, learn from the holy beings. Okay, we can dedicate now, I think. Thank you all very much indeed. We can dedicate for the long life of our teachers. And it was Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche's birthday yesterday. So we can 76 or 77 according to Tibetan calculation. And dedicate that he lives a very long life and continues to benefit so many beings. We can dedicate that we're never separated from authentic teachings and teachers, so that we can actualize this path, fully awaken our Buddha nature, become Buddhas, and be of then inestimable benefit to others, as well as fulfilling our own purpose. Okay. Thank you very much.